I've been using the Fifine K658 microphone for almost 3 weeks now, and I think it's awesome. It fits right home for its target users and use cases such as voice and video recording, streaming, podcasting, Zoom calls, and anything that has something to do primarily with voice and is stationary, like in a desk or in a studio setup. The voiceover of this video is the raw and unedited audio straight out of the K658, plugged into my 2020 M1 MacBook Pro through an Anchor 8-in-1 hub. And this room is not a studio, this is actually just our living room where I work. This is my work desk. And this room isn't sound treated or anything. There's no carpet, there's no sound panels or anything. It's just a normal living room. I'm sharing that because it puts this review into context. You have an idea of my use case and my use environment. Also, Fifine sent this mic to me to make a review if I want to. So everything I'm saying here are my own honest and unfiltered thoughts about this product based on my experience so far in 3 weeks. Before we get to the nitty-gritty, here is what is included on the package. First, a 2.5 meter USB-C to USB-A cable. It's pretty thick and feels sturdy. A shock mount which has a unique design, a little more on that later. A mini tripod which I think they should just not include. More on this later when I discuss things that I think can be improved. And finally, the mic itself. Sound, the most important aspect of a microphone, so let's talk about that first. Now, I am not an audio professional, so this review isn't going to be scientific, but I am picky when it comes to quality, tech, audio, video, the list goes on. And I've had several mics that I've used for work and for making videos like these, so my thoughts have fundamental basis. Okay, I'm not gonna waste your time. I think it sounds great. It has that podcasty, warm sound to it, and the frequencies that are off-putting to the ears are minimized. So by default, the audio straight out of this mic is very listenable. And what does listenable even mean? Well, for most mics, if you're working with vocals and you want to make it sound better, you typically apply an EQ to it, pull down some certain frequencies and pull up some certain frequencies. That EQ makes it sound fuller and less fatiguing to the listener, especially for longer vocal sessions. Now, this is the reason why most radio jocks and podcasts have that similar deep and rich sound to them, because that's what humans perceive as good sounding vocals. The K658 gives you that by default, not to like full extent, maybe halfway there, so that you have a room for adjustment. But by default, the sound of this mic, already good straight out the mic. Now this is a dynamic microphone with a cardioid pickup pattern and with a very small sort of like pickup range. So you're supposed to speak 2 to 4 inches away from the microphone top. So any further than 2 to 4 inches, you rapidly lose gain. And that is really good for most people, I would imagine, because most people, like me, we don't have a studio, we don't have a sound-treated room. So imagine keyboard noise, noisy neighbors, loud vehicles passing by, maybe someone in the corner of the room is talking to someone else, things like that. This microphone doesn't pick up as much. It rejects those noise because it's by design, it only picks up sound from this area. And yeah, this is a top address microphone. I just thought it's worth pointing out because I see some people using their mics wrong, like speaking here instead of here, or for side address microphone, speaking on top instead of to the side, which makes their voice sound muffled. One minor problem of the K658 is that it's not good at rejecting plosives. So P's and whatever sound that is that makes your mouth release sudden surge of air. I think it's partly because of this thin foam here. This is not too thin, but it could have made it thicker at this point, especially if this is a top address microphone. But it's not a problem unique to this microphone. It's generally a microphone problem, and there are several ways of addressing that. The most effective is to use a pop filter, which is sort of like a thin screen that you put over here, maybe clip here. But most people, like me, I don't think would prefer that because that's yet another hardware, you put it there. Unless you really need the best sound quality, then that's the best solution. I've seen some people fit another foam on their microphones just to make it thicker. So you have this and then that. So now you have like twice the thickness of the foam, which according to them helps a lot So yeah, that's another option. And then third option is a lazy option, and then my preferred option, which is just really playing with the positioning of the microphone. So like instead of putting it directly here, which will be on the path of the air coming out of my mouth, you can just like put it down a little like that, or maybe to the side like that, as long as it's near like 2 to 4 inches away from your mouth, and like pointing this to this area, not here, not up there, just right around this area. Yeah. Okay, having said all that, here is a baseline sound test of all the mics that I have here, both dedicated mics and built-in mics, so that you have a reference of what this mic sounds like compared to the mics that you might already have. Alright, so this is the start of the series of sound tests, which is going to include the Fifine K658, the BM800, which is a mic most of us have used, a Boya M1 shotgun microphone, which is also pretty popular, and then we're going to try the built-in microphone on the M1 MacBook Pro 2020, and then the built-in microphone on the iPhone 13 Pro, which is actually the camera I'm using. Okay, so right now you're listening to the Fifine K658. I'm around 2-3 inches away from the mic. I'm speaking in my normal speaking voice when I'm like talking to someone over the microphone. So now I'm using the BM800. This is an unbranded one, and this is a microphone that most of us might have used because it's a really cheap condenser microphone, and it usually requires 48 volts phantom power. I just use a cheap USB audio interface like USB to 3.5 millimeter. The downside is that the gain is very low, so I have to speak louder or I have to speak really close. With something like the Fifine K658, which is a USB mic, just plug it directly to your device and you're good to go. So now you're hearing from the Boya BY-MM1 mini shotgun microphone. Now this microphone is designed to pick up like sound from further away. This is designed to be on top of a camera that you're holding for vlogging or for point and shoot, and this is what it sounds like. You be the judge. Alright, so now I'm speaking to the built-in microphone on the 2020 M1 MacBook Pro, roughly at the distance where I might speak when I'm using it, like using the keyboard and trackpad, because I would be farther away if like use an external keyboard and trackpad, so I think that's worth pointing out. And finally, we have the built-in microphone on the iPhone 13 Pro. This is what it sounds like. I think the iPhones also have a decent microphone, but again, noise rejection is something that is bad with built-in microphones, and richness and deepness of the sound. And yeah, this is what it sounds like. Okay, so if you like the sound characteristics of the K658, then the next thing you probably look into is the looks of the mic. Here we go. I kind of like that it has a resemblance to the Shure SM7B. Just a few differences here and there. You get a shock mount here instead of here. You get lights, actually. Look at that. Sheesh. And then you got this huge gain knob and a mute and unmute button. Some aspects of the design is honestly an acquired taste. Initially, I thought that the huge knob and the huge mute button was like an eyesore, but over time, I've learned that this too is actually very useful. I don't have to rush to open whatever application I'm using and then do the keyboard shortcut or use my mouse or trackpad to go mute myself. It's just there. You can just grab here. You don't have to operate your computer just to mute yourself. I think I understand now why they made this huge, so that you have like a reference point of where you like touch. Like that. You don't have to look when you mute. You just touch and press. The gain knob is also actually pretty clutch. Like in my neighborhood, there's like lots of motorcycles, loud motorcycles passing by, and sometimes they just like chill there and then make some noise. And they do it for a few seconds, and sometimes you spend minutes there. And I don't have to go to my settings to adjust my input gain. I just like pull this down a little and then speak louder a little so to compensate the reduced gain. So now, whoever I'm speaking to, they hear less of the noise from further away and still equally of my voice because I'm speaking louder, and I just reduce the gain. So yeah, let's put that down, up, back, so I can speak normally. And yeah, that's pretty clutch. And now the waving LED lights, it can be turned off, so that's just a matter of personal preference, but by default it's on. Like when you unplug the microphone and plug it back in, it's on by default, even if it's off when you unplugged it. It would have been nice if this setting persists. Like if you turn it off, when you plug it back in, it should be off. I think it looks great with or without the lights, and it's nice to have that option because some people have RGB setups, so this will fit right in. Maybe it would have been nice if this is programmable, like you can pick a steady color to fit your theme and things like that, like so it matches your setup if you have an RGB setup. But if you don't, then you could just turn it off. Yeah. Next thing is the mounting design, which is a little unique because most microphones, the mount or the mounting point is near the center or center of gravity of the microphone to like reduce movement, like reduce wobbles, and generally just for stability. But this one, you mount it on the edge and then it just pokes out like this one. I thought it was weird at first, but I realized that it's actually kind of good because most microphones, or like this microphone, is designed for podcasters, streamers, video recordings, Zoom calls, and most of the time the microphone is going to be in frame, like in this shot. So if you have like a microphone that's mounted traditionally, like traditional, you'll see more of the mounting mechanism here and the boom arm or whatever's holding your microphone. But this way, the microphone is like reaching out further. So you can move this back a little and the microphone would still be close to your mouth because of this mounting design. I hope that made sense. Yeah. Now let's talk about the things that I think can be improved or should be improved to make this even better than it already is. So first things first, the mini tripod, I think they can just get rid of that. It even says on the paper manual that this is just a bonus and they recommend using a boom arm when using this microphone. Rightfully so, because with this type of microphone, like with this short pickup range, you're better off with a boom arm so you can position it freely. If it's on a mini tripod, it would be hard to use this mic. So why not get rid of that? It's actually heavy and it's metal, and just spend it on the microphone, like maybe a metal shock mount or maybe more value to the microphone itself. Because I think people willing to spend $100 on a microphone will be willing to shell extra to get a boom arm for a better audio, because that's what they came here for. Or maybe just use the cost savings of not including the mini tripod and make this priced even more competitively. More people can afford great audio, more people will buy this. It's a win-win for everyone. Overall, I'm very happy with the K658. I think it's a good mic at $100 and even better at $90 or $80 if you can get it at that, which I think you can because it usually goes on sale and there's like 10% vouchers here and there. I'll ask them if they can give us a 10% off voucher, which brands usually do. And yeah, that wraps up my thoughts on the Fifine K658. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm curious what you guys think. And thank you for watching. Thanks to Fifine for sending this mic over. And I'll see you all on the next one. Thanks.